to another episode of my Best 11 podcast. Today we are very, very lucky to have joining us an ex-Luton Town, Luton boy as well, born in Luton. I remember he was famously won the Ketchup Cup while he's at Cardinal Newman. And then obviously went on to grand things, playing in the Premier League for a number of times for Wolves, amongst other clubs, and of course representing his country very, very proudly. Today we are joined by Kevin Foley. Welcome, Kevin. How are you?
I'm very good, Andrew. Thanks for having me. What an introduction. By the way, people always think I'm born in Luton, but I was actually born in London. But everyone gets that wrong.
Wow.
It's on my Wikipedia, it's on everything. And I count myself as a Luton lad. You know, I moved there from London when I was about 5 or 6. But I was actually born in London. But on everything, every team I join, it's always Kev Foley, born in Luton, which, you know.
Interesting. Whereabouts in London, Kev? Whereabouts?
You'd have to ask my mum. The centre somewhere.
Listen, so you come in now with that to knock Andrew back after he's done his research, and you can't even come up with a place where you're born. What?
No, it was the Middlesex Hospital, Marv, right in the centre of London, I'm told. And but it's not Andrew's fault because it's on everything. You look on everything. I was born in Luton, and I lived in Stepney, Bethnal Green till I was about 5, and then moved to Luton with my mum and my brother. And
great.
But yeah, and that Heinz Ketchup Cup thing, we played at Highbury when we were like 13, and that's one of my biggest achievements, Marv.
Listen, I know some great players have come out. You being one of them from that school, Cardinal Newman. It was a big school for producing players, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was a really big school. I think, in fact, I don't know, Mal Donaghy. I'm sure his son went there.
Mal Donaghy still lived there. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Kevin Blackwell went there. I think David Pleat's house was like literally around the corner from the school.
I was going to say that. It's down the bottom of the road by the sweet shop. It was.
That's right. That is exactly right. And then you got Gary Doherty, obviously. Yeah. Liam George, Keith Keane.
Yeah.
You know.
Good few players,
Yeah, it was a hotbed of like footballers and coming out of there. It was a great school. I loved it.
Awesome. And of course we have Marv. Hello, Marv. You already started speaking, but
yes.
I'll introduce Marv as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, Andrew. Is the first one really with me like talking to another player from Luton, but on the other side, because I wasn't quite totally involved in the whole producing of Kev, but like I was a little bit part towards the back end of John Moore's like reign. So yeah, this is going to be a really interesting one.
Excellent. So what we'll do is we'll get going and we'll start off with our formation, Kev. You can pick your formation, and obviously as we go through, you can explain why you chose that.
Well, you know, I listened to a few podcasts recently, and obviously Graham Alexander, he was talking about, did he go with a 4-1-4-1 stroke 4-4-2? From what I remember anyway.
Yes, I think he did. Yes, he did. Yeah.
Matthew Upson, did he do it? I heard a little bit of it. Anyway, in my head, I was thinking about, right, what formation was I in when I played my best football? And it was the old school 4-4-2. You know, when you grow up, you know, 9, 10 years old. It was probably the only formation about at the time. It was standard 4-4-2, and you know, when I got in the team, Mike Newell was managed. It was straight up 4-4-2. When I went and played for Wolves and played my best football, it was a straight up 4-4-2. Everyone knew their role, so I just thought I'd probably stick with that rather than get too creative. And you know, I'd be able to fit the players that I wanted to fit in there quite nicely. So yeah, I've gone for a 4-4-2 formation, bit old school, but you know, it done the trick.
It's reliable. It'll come around again. And I mean, if it's not already, I mean, everyone will start using that again. I mean,
exactly, Marv. You know, these. I heard on a few podcasts you've done. These things tend to sort of come round in a full circle, don't they?
Yeah.
And so that's the formation I'm going with.
Excellent. So we'll jump straight in. Goalkeeper.
Well, the goalie. The first person that sprung to mind when I first got into the Luton team, I was obviously a young lad back then, but the first one that sprung to mind. Now he didn't make the team, but the first one that I thought about was Marlon Beresford. He was unbelievable. He was, and he seemed like he was about 50 years old at the time. Me being young. But he was so agile. He was a great shot stopper. Used to pull off these unbelievable saves, and I used to think, like, wow, what a goalie. So obviously that was a great team to be part of, and he was a big reason for that. So there was a special mention for him, obviously connected to my Luton days. But the goalie that I've gone with, played many games in the Premier League. Never regarded as the best goalie of his era. It was probably second or third, on people's list in the Premier League at the time. It was always that guy, and he played for Newcastle, played for Man City, played for Aston Villa.
And did you play Blackburn?
Blackburn.
I don't know who it is, because Andrew seems to might know who it is. Was he an international?
He was an international, Marv.
That's how Kev worked with him, I think.
Yeah.
He wasn't from Wolves, Marv.
He wasn't from Wolves. International player, not the tallest.
As soon as you said not the tallest, I think I know. Yeah.
So it's Shay Given.
Yeah.
Shay Given. Unbelievable technique. In training. When I first got into the squad, there was a few players in the squad that I was a bit like in awe of, because I was come from Luton at the time, and he was one of them. And I thought, what a player he was. And up close in training, I remember he used to do like literally just a session. Him and Robbie Keane. Robbie Keane would get like 50 footballs and be shooting at him. The ball would get zinged out to Robbie Keane, edge of the box, 2-touch, 1-touch control, 1-touch finish. And some days, Robbie Keane, a great finisher that he was, he just couldn't score past Shay. He was so good. Really good, distribution as well. Fantastic. Great talker. I was young at the time. There was a few of us young going in, and, anything you do a little block, a little tackle, he would commend you for it, and
right.
give you confidence. So he was a really experienced player at the time, but someone that helped me settle into the squad when I first got into it.
It doesn't come across as, because like you said, he wasn't that big, and although most goalkeepers do have to talk and be quite vocal, he wouldn't give me the impression, maybe you could answer this, as being a belter of a strong voice, like a deep voice. It just seems like it reminds me of a guy in a boy band, like a boy band.
Oh no! To be fair, he was like strong, and he was a real winner. Like, whether it was a five-a-side, it was the proper match. He didn't want to concede goals, and
right.
The players were a part of him. So if they've done well, he would buzz off that. And he was just real good shot stopper, real good. Another guy actually that was great in my time was Dean Kiley. He come to Luton on loan for a stint, and I played with him internationally as well. He was fantastic. Another one, he was quite experienced at the time. Real great guy, funny as well. Real good guy to get on with. And there was another goalie, my last one that I'll mention, Wayne Hennessy, plays for Wales now. He's had a great career. When I joined Wolves, he was only maybe about 18 or 19 at the time, but he was immense. And you could tell there from such a young age that he's going to go on and have a fantastic career.
Well, he's still sat on the bench for Palace, isn't he?
He is, yeah. I mean, he's sat on the bench, and he must be coming up close to 100 caps for Wales now. He's played that many games. He's a great lad. He is.
Oh, excellent!
Oh, great,
excellent. So, right back now, you can pick yourself.
No one's done it yet, but you can pick yourself.
Nah, no way, Mark. Right back. I tell you what. I had quite a good few options here, especially when I think about internationally as well. I was quite sport for choice, and there's one guy at the moment who's doing really well in the Premier League. He's just got to move to Spurs from Wolves for 15 million quid. Irish international. Now Matt Doherty, he's not in my team, but he's one that sort of joined Wolves towards the middle of my time there. And you wouldn't have looked at him at the time and thought, he's going to go on, he's going to score goals in the Premier League, he's going to make assists, he's going to get a move to Spurs. But he has got his head down, he's worked really hard, and all of a sudden now he's top of the league with Spurs, and he's flying, Matt Doherty. So big mention for him, someone that I probably would have looked at and thought, he's not really going to play at the highest level, but he has. And,
so is he naturally a fullback, is he? Not a centre-back?
You know what, Marv? When he played wing-back for Wolves, that was the perfect position for him, because he could get forward, didn't really have as much as a defensive responsibility. Now he's got it at Spurs. He's playing out and out right back, but he seems to still be doing the business.
Right.
So fair play to him. He's doing really well. But the guy that probably pips him, another international player, actually started his career at Sligo Rovers in Ireland. My ex-teammate Matthew Judge, who played for Luton, we were the same age. I remember when he left Luton, he went and played for Sligo. I don't know how he got over there. He ended up playing for Sligo. And Judge, he was saying to me at the time, there's this kid, he's unbelievable. You wait till you see him. Some big team's going to snap him up. And I was like, all right. And then, before you knew it, about 6 months later, Everton come in and snap this kid up. And he's still there now, gone on to play hundreds and hundreds of Premier League games, countless assists, a good few goals to mention as well.
Yeah, I can't think of his name. I know who you're on. He's a captain as well, is he?
Seamus Coleman?
Seamus Coleman,
yeah.
Seamus Coleman. What a player. I mean, he's got a great attitude, great work ethic. I was in a few Ireland squads with him as well. And his hunger to do well. I don't think, it's not like he came and signed for Everton when he was 18, 17. He was quite a bit older than that. But, he'd grafted and he just had this great attacking mentality. And I think while he was at Everton, he had a loan spell at Blackpool with Ian Holloway. And obviously Ian Holloway is like gung-ho, attacking, all out attacking. And that Seamus Coleman had a great season. I think he was in the team when they got promoted through the playoffs. So, I mean, he was a fantastic player. And obviously at the moment now he's captain at Everton, real great lad.
If he's still playing when Ancelotti's there, it says everything.
Exactly. And I know. And he got injured recently and he was out of the team. But then as soon as he's fit, he's back in there. What a manager Ancelotti is, by the way, as well. I love him.
Yeah, true. I was just going to say about Seamus Coleman. A good lad, being an Irish lad. Some of them, obviously in your time, we've come across a few of them. They're really funny and witty. Was he no different? Was very similar? Was having the crack, as they call it?
He was young, so he was probably came in to the squad quite quiet, but quietly confident. You look at him and he'd be like, whoever's playing right back now, I'm going to take this. I'm going to take their position off them. Remember, obviously going away with Ireland, we used to have great times. We meet up as the squad, train. We'd have nights out and that. Seamus would probably be one, if not the only one, that obviously wouldn't go out and drink. I don't think he's that type of character. Very serious work ethic, but he backs it up. It's not so he's not your typical Irishman that likes the Guinness or a beer. But a fantastic lad and a fantastic player, and he's deservedly having a great career.
I know you just touched on obviously then, but both Shay Given and Seamus Coleman at international level. So obviously for yourself, you played, was it 8 times?
Eight times.
Yeah, 8 times. So what was it like when you first found out that you got the call, or like you was going to be in the full squad? Can you remember that time, the day?
Yeah,
or what?
actually, yeah. We'd been away with the under 21s. We'd had a game. A qualifier. It was at the end of a season, and I think Steve Staunton had just taken over actually with the Irish team, and he called up Don Givens, who's the under 21s manager, and he said, "Look, I need this space for 2 couple of lads that whoever you think's done well, we'll get them on a trip, and the first team trip to Portugal for a pre-season camp and stuff. And John Givens put me and another lad called Jay Tab forward. He played for Brentford. He had a good career.
Forward,
yeah, little cocky lad, yeah. So we both went, and again, Marv, it was a bit surreal, you know. I'm coming from a League One team. You're going in, and it's like these Premier League superstars that you see on Match of the Day, and you're like, oh, this is weird. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, exciting to be there. You know, I was a pretty shy kid. Didn't really say much. Just got my head down and done my best. But again, all the lads that were there, big name players at the time, welcomed me in. Like Steve Finnan, Gary Breen was there at the time. Lee Carsley, all these players, and you just think, oh, this is great. It was just great to be, you know, training with these players and seeing them up close.
Did you play then? Did you play then in them game?
No, I didn't, Marv. You know, I was in the squad for probably maybe 2 years before I actually made my debut. Almost 2 years. So I'd go and, you know, and then I think Steve Staunton got sacked or got let go, and Trapattoni took over, and then he was getting me in the squads. And what a guy he was, like Giovanni Trapattoni. What a background he had. Juventus, all these Italian teams, a national team. And again, it was great to work with these types of people. Marco Tardelli, he was the assistant. He scored in the World Cup, and there's a famous picture of him when he celebrates.
When he's running away.
Yeah, running away, emotions high and stuff like that. So, it was a couple of years before I made my debut. Obviously, I was doing well with Wolves at the time, and we'd just got promoted to the Premier League, and I made my debut at Craven Cottage. We played Nigeria, actually, in a friendly, and that was a real proud moment for me. Obviously, not being down the road from Luton as well, you know, so lots of family and friends got to see that up close. And yes, something I'll never forget.
Excellent.
And of course, just down the road from where you're born. Must be nice.
Exactly. Yeah, don't worry, Andrew. It was still say forever that I was born in Luton. I don't mind that joke. That's great.
Awesome. Right. Moving on to left back.
Left back, yeah. So left back, it was a tough one, really. Again, I would say there's two clubs, obviously, I've spent most of my career at. It was Luton at the start of my career, and Wolves before sort of, you know, as they say, fading out, injuries, etc. So they would be probably the clubs that I was looking most at. If I'll just have a look now. I just wrote down a piece of paper. So I played towards the end of my career, actually, Paul Kanchesky, really good lad. He was probably late 30s. Billericay, we had a mad one season down there. I've got a lot of stories about that, Marv and Andrew. I tell you, you know, crazy. I could do a whole nother podcast on Billericay, by the way. So
what do you mean by that? What do you mean they were a crazy team? Because I know they kind of pick up a lot of kind of
I mean, it was
random.
The owner. Yeah, it was the owner that was crazy. Glenn Tamplin. He was he got me. I was there. Jamie O'Hara was the link to get me there. I was sort of out of contract after Coventry, and I was thinking, because towards the end of I went to Charlton for 6 months and got by. It was a struggle though, injury wise. And then January went to Coventry, and it was a real tough time. You know, I was just trying to, you know what it's like, Marv, you try and get through training as best you can without even being exposed. You play games. And then at the end of that season, I thought, I don't think I can do any more of this. And then in the summer, Jamie O'Hara called me, and he said, look, putting a team together, you train once a week, twice maybe. And I thought, oh,
down the pub 5 times a week.
Sounds not too bad. So I took him up on it, and Jermaine Pennant signed, Paul Kanchesky signed. Actually, we had a really good squad, and we actually won the treble or the quadruple, whatever it was that year. So it was a successful year, but probably it aged me about 5 years with the owner, because he was a head case. He was an absolute head case.
In what way? Give us some. Just give us one of his typical like off the chart things he had done.
So he come in. He arranged a meeting one day. He was like, "Right, lads," he said, the HMRC, they're on to me, tax. He said, we're going to have a meeting, right? So everyone, don't bring your phones, leave your phones in the car. We're going to have a meeting. You know, they can listen through the speakers and all this rubbish. So we're like, all right, whatever. So we're having this meeting. He's talking about like players getting paid, blah, 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 all this. All of a sudden, there's a phone starts ringing, and it was his phone. So we're like, you've just told us to leave your phones, and you've brought your phone into this meeting. Anyway, it wasn't like anything dodgy was going on, but it was just crazy. He would call players up in the middle of the night. You know, there was one game, first game of the season. We played Kingstonian at home. He'd done this mad speech. Now he's a great guy. Like he's got heart of gold, but he'd done this mad speech, and he was like, "Look, big speech. This is the biggest games of our lives here." And I'm looking around the change room, and I'm seeing like Paul Kanchesky's played in the Europa League final. Jermaine Pennant's played in the Champions League final. You know, they've played for England, and I'm thinking, I don't think this is the biggest game of their careers here, Kingstonian at home. All due respect to them, but it was just crazy, and it was.
He was picking the team, was he?
Was he picking the team? No, I wouldn't say he was picking the team. We had a coach there, but he was very much involved. Very much involved. Yeah. So it was just.
So you've mentioned Paul Kanchesky. It's not him.
No, it's not him. I played with another guy, Mickey Gray. Obviously, left back, played for Blackburn. He was a good player. Towards the end of his time at Wolves, end of his career, he played there. He was a great guy, funny character, little bit big time, you know, typical. You know, I think he's doing a lot now at BT Sports and stuff like that. So, but the guy that I'm going to go for, he's actually had a real solid career. He started off in the League of Ireland, signed for Wolves. He's played for Burnley in the Premier League. He's played for Brighton. He's still playing now for a team in League One. He was originally a striker as well. You know, when he was like 18, 19, I played in the under-21s, Ireland under-21s with him. He was a striker. When I signed for Wolves, he'd sort of striker stroke left winger. And then the season we got promoted with Wolves in the Championship, he ended up sort of by default playing as a left back for a couple of games and stayed there for the whole season.
There it is.
No.
My mind's blank.
No, it's Stephen Ward. Stephen Ward.
Oh, okay. I didn't know he started as striker.
Yeah, he started as a striker at Bohemians, I believe, in the League of Ireland. And like Wardy, like he's playing at Ipswich now in League One, and he's that one guy in training, Marv, where you want him on your team. You look across, and like we used to do some of these training games, and it was like you got to stay with your man. You know that one where you pick a person, and if it was Wardy, you just like, you know, he's a machine. He's just going to run all day, and he's just going to grind you down. And he was that guy, and he was a fantastic character, great to have on a team. And I'm not surprised to see him go on and still be playing. He must be about 34 now. He had a good, solid amount of years in the Premier League with Sean Dyche at Burnley. Played a hell of a lot of games for them. Brighton as well. So he was just a great character.
Awesome. So moving on to centre-backs.
Centre-backs. Yeah, I mean, centre-backs. Marv, you were sort of centre-back stroke left-back, weren't you?
Yeah.
Right-back stroke anywhere along the back?
Anywhere along the back.
Anywhere
along the back. Striker.
Player. Striker.
Sometimes you go on little marauding runs and trying to sneak up and be a striker, but every now and then you'll hear a booming voice from John Moore or whatever. Get back, ye!
Yeah. That was a voice you listened to as well, John Moore.
Yes.
What a guy he was. I mean, he was great. Was he the first team coach or manager when you were there? Because I know he was manager.
He was reserve team coach when I first joined. There was a man called David Coates was a youth team coach when I first come in. Yeah. He just got dropped down to the youth team from the helping the first team.
Yeah.
And John was in reserves, yeah. But like you said, John's been there for age. I think John was there when it was founded, the club.
He was part of the stadium. And the thing about John is, like, when I first got in, done my scholarship, got in at 16 years of age, John was that guy that you wanted to impress. I don't know how you saw it, Marv, but he was disciplinarian, but and he rarely would congratulate you on anything. So any small little thing you got, it was like brilliant. Like if John thinks I'm doing all right, then I must be doing quite good.
Yeah.
I used to love the way he was with people and getting the best out of people, and countless hours over in the volleys gym.
Yeah.
The away stand. That was great. Head tennis.
And he was decent at it as well, wasn't he? Remember the old foot used to come across the net, and he is so competitive.
The old foot, honestly, because you'd have this thing, right? Is your foot over the net? Is it not? He's coming up 15-year-old kids and giving them the 6 studs. Bang, have that. Give you the stare, and you'd be like, oh, this ain't an old man. This guy's. He had his Puma Kings on. Smash, have that. Get the pissing corner and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great fun over there, and I still speak to a lot of the lads now about it, Marv. Like in the volleys gym, Andrew. We have you seen it?
Absolutely, yeah. I've seen it years ago.
Yeah, and we used to go in there like in the morning. You'd get your jobs done. You'd clean the pros' boots, and before you go training, you try and get to the volleys gym for 20 minutes, half an hour, quick head tennis, whatever. Then you'd come back, go training, put the nets up, get the nets down, do your jobs, have lunch. Quick, get into the volleys gym for another bit of head tennis for half an hour before the afternoon session. Afternoon session finishes, or you might have had the afternoon session in the volleys gym.
Yeah.
And then you start playing head tennis again. And before you know it, the caretaker's coming around trying to shut the lights off. But I think like I learned so much and improved my technique in the volleys gym, because the ball would come off the alcove, it would come off the light switch, it would come off the hook sticking out of the wall.
Yeah, that's right.
You just have to adjust, and I absolutely loved it in there. Absolutely loved it.
I think everyone did. Everyone did. I mean, I think all the players, like, I mean, even myself, that's where we were, like, slightly how Kev just said that, Andrew, like, before your jobs, in there. After the finish practice or after you finish your lunch, in there. Everyone, and this would be a queue, isn't there? These people used to queue and say, I'm on next. This is fantastic.
Absolutely. And it took no prisoners, did it?
No.
You get found out in there. Just quickly on that as well, there was one, you remember down Vauxhall, they've got these new cages, the Pro Zone, whatever it's called, the football cages. Well, we used to train down there every now and again. They had some AstroTurf left over. And obviously we had the old, in the volleys gym, it was the old sand-based, flat, bald as anything. Yeah. You've played on it, Marv, you know what it's like. So John Moore was like, well, we've got all this stuff. So he said, the afternoon session, come with me, lads. We were like, what are we doing? We marched us all over to the volleys gym without footballs, without equipment. And he started cutting up this AstroTurf. He was like, right, lads, this is the session. Roll this out and take that over to the skip down by where the clock was. You know where the clock still is, down the end by the boxes. And this, I'm telling you, they were like moving dead bodies out. You'd roll these bits of AstroTurf, and it was so, we were there for hours and hours. But then we got this new AstroTurf laid, and it was like Christmas again. New AstroTurf in the volleys gym. It was great. Sorry, Andrew, I'm losing this team.
Centre halves. We're on the centre halves now, Kev. Yes, go on.
Sorry.
No, this is good. It's what people want to hear, I think.
Yeah, it's stories. It's good. It's good stuff. It's good information. That's what they want to hear. You're right, Andrew.
Centre halves. Go straight to it. This player, I played with him at Wolves. He originally started off at Cambridge United. I think he had about 140, 150 matches there. He's about 10 years older than me, so he'd be about 45, 46 now. He had a good stint at Sunderland with Mick McCarthy when he was a manager. And then he had another good stint when Mick McCarthy was the manager at Wolves. He's about 6'1", one of the best players in the air I've ever played with.
Really?
For his height, so dominant. You'd look at him and you think, he looks pretty strong. He doesn't look overpowering. He doesn't look, like he could leap but he was so strong and had such.
You got it, Andrew? Is it Paul
No,
Butler?
no, I never played with him.
I went to visit Cambridge. All right.
I was going to say Kenny Cunningham, but I don't think it is.
No, I didn't play with him either. I don't know if surely you've heard of him. Jody Craddock.
Yes,
oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jody Craddock.
Yes.
He was one of them players where, and I love playing next to him as a right back because he would get the ball and he's just going to give it to you. He's not going to look up for that special ball or that clip ball or trying to find the number 10 or whatever. If he sees you, he's going to fire it into you. And that's what I loved about him. It was just, you knew what he was going to do. He was dominant in the air. He wasn't loud. He was just a real quiet leader. And it's funny because when I first got to Wolves, he was just being sent out on loan to Stoke. And I thought, okay, I've heard he's a good player, but he's going on loan to Stoke. I think he was about 31, 32 at the time. And then he was recalled after a month or two by Mick McCarthy. And then he played for the next 3-4 years, a couple of years in the Championship and a couple of years in the Premier League at the age of 34, 35. And he was great. I mean, the Wolves fans, they had a song about him. There's only one Jody Craddock. He used to be, but now he's all right, walking in a Craddock wonderland. You know the word that goes. And it's a famous song with the Wolves fans because he was sent away because apparently he wasn't good enough. And 2 months later, he come back and he was a machine. So
whatever machine Stoke have got.
Pardon?
Whatever machine Stoke have got.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's my first centre half, and then my other centre half, again, sport for choice. I played with other players. Special mention, Chris Coyne at Luton. He was great for me because I played next to him. He was a right-sided centre half, and Coyne would tell you he wasn't the quickest. So he always wanted me covering him, which I didn't mind, which was great. But he was so dominant in the air. And one of the first things I always saw in like professional football, he was like, when he goes up for a header, I got to get round him. And there was a couple of times early on when I got in, and I didn't get round him. He won the header, but he'd have a go at me and he would hammer me. If I lose that header and the winger gets in, it's your fault and you make me look bad. So I learned a lot off Coyne. Great technician, left foot, right foot. I'm sure if he had a little bit more pace to his game, he would have played, at the highest level because he come through the West Ham youth system with the likes of Rio Ferdinand and guys like that. So he was great. Another really good centre back that I played with, obviously Curtis. Grew up with him, Curtis Davies. Fantastic! What a career he's gone on to have. Unbelievable, And to think that when he was, he had nowhere to go when he left school. I think he wrote to every league club, and I think only 2 responded. And I think one of them was obviously John Moore, Luton. Come in, had a trial, and had the game of his life at Walsall away. We were like 16 years old, and he's dominant in the air. He was chopping people inside out, and then I think he put one in to the stanchion with his left foot, and then literally signed him on the Monday, and the rest is history. And it just tells you everything you need to know about him. And one more guy that I played with at Luton, fantastic, Marcus Heiken. What a player he was. Like, played centre midfield, played centre back, so calm on the ball.
He's an international as well, wasn't he? As well at the time.
Played loads of games for Finland.
Yeah.
Played loads of games for Rapid Vienna when he left Luton. Europa League, Champions League. What a guy! Like, the most calmest guy on the football pitch. Didn't look like a footballer. Looked a bit like a farmer. Looked like a farmer. He used to read books. He wasn't a typical footballer on a coach. Read books, psychology, glasses on. But great guy, great footballer. But the one that I'm going to stick in there, this guy's played for Everton. He's played for Man City. Most notably, he's played a bit for Aston Villa. Obviously, played for Republic of Ireland. Real dominant centre half. When he gets going, when he gets running, he's like a steam train, and he's so fast. To look at him, you wouldn't think, but really good on the ball as well.
I don't know. I'm gone. I mean, I'm useless today. Andrew?
Republic of Ireland.
I'm trying to think. Oh, I got it. Dunn.
Yeah.
Richard Dunn.
I totally forgot he went to Man City.
Richard Dunn.
Yeah.
Richard Dunn. Yeah, it just came to me. I was thinking, and then Man City. It came to me. Yeah.
Richard Dunn, fantastic. What a player. There's one game that sticks out in my mind. I was on the bench. We played Russia away. And I'm sure it'd be on YouTube or something. Just the clips, like he ends up like smashing. He single-handedly won the game. I think we draw. I can't remember. We needed a point anyway, at least. And he single-handedly got us through that game. He smashed people. He ends up headbutting like the athletics track around the outside. Tackles, smashes it, gets up, blood everywhere, plays on. It was just one of them games. You know the Terry Butcher one?
Yeah.
That was Ireland's version of Terry Butcher. Richard Dunn that day. Incredible. Really good on the ball. Not the loudest. You look at him, you think he's a real loud guy. Real like a quiet leader, leads by example. Never trained. When we used to go on international duty, never trained. He would just like sit on the sideline, just watching it. And then he'd train on the Friday. And then he'd be the best player on the Saturday. It's like, no, I don't train, not today. And it was like a Paul McGrath situation, I think. It was ridiculous. And he could drink as well. So
I heard that. I've heard they could drink, yeah.
Maybe that's why he didn't train, because you'd come out, right? And obviously a lot of us, we used to go out a lot with them, but like he was like to the extreme, and you'd come out and you'd look over on the bench on the side of the training pitch, and you just see Dunny's eyes just glazed over, hat on. We're like, right, yeah, he'll be all right on Saturday though.
Couple of Baroccas, he'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. But no, what a fantastic player.
Awesome. What we'll do is we'll pause it there, and then we'll for a break and to hear from our sponsors, and then when we come back for part 2, we'll hear about the rest of Kevin Foley's team. Great, so we're back. Part 2 of Kevin Foley's My Best 11. So far, we've got in goal Shay Given, right back Seamus Coleman, left back Stephen Ward, and centre backs we have Jody Craddock and Richard Dunn. So we'll go to midfield. Kevin's gone for a 4-4-2, and we'll start off on either wing, whichever one you prefer, Kev.
Oh, let's start off on the right wing. The right wing, obviously. Yeah, right wing, left winger. So it's hard really, because I look at a lot of the wingers that I chose, and they could play either side, like the modern day, you're left-footed playing on the right, coming inside, causing different problems. But this guy that I chose, he was probably in the team when I had my best stint as a player. So from about 2007-8 to about 2009-10, I had a really good relationship with this player. He was like an old school winger, wanted to get a couple of yards, put balls in the box, fantastic right foot. He signed for Wolves from Grays Athletic for £25,000. Before that, I think he'd been released by Southend. So, he'd had to go the long way round, really. But he went on to have a good career. He played for Wolves, obviously. He then signed for Stoke City in the Premier League. Went on and signed for Burnley as well. Played for them in the Premier League, and then actually finished up playing for Southend. Funnily enough, before retiring.
I haven't got it.
No.
Andrew?
Go ahead, Andrew. No. Michael Kiley.
Michael Kiley.
He was.
Was he at Cardiff for a while, or is that somebody else?
No, that's. I think that's someone else. I'm trying to think.
I remember him now that you said his name.
I know who you mean. Yeah.
I know who you mean. I just couldn't. From 25 grand. That's all he cost from Grays.
Honestly, look, the thing is, Marv, with that team, when I joined Wolves from Luton, we had the likes of Matt Jarvis, who went on and played for England, West Ham, Norwich. They signed him for a few $100,000. They signed me, Michael Kiley, Stephen Ward from the League of Ireland for next to nothing. Andy Keogh, next to nothing. They signed so many players like in the bracket of young and hungry. That's what they went for. And the thing is, with that squad that year when we got promoted, the only player that had played in the Premier League was Jody Craddock with Sunderland before. Other than that, the other 10 players that were regulars, from the goalie right to the strikers, were all like itching. It's not like we were towards the end of our careers. We were all like trying to get to that Premier League. And me and Kites were the same. And we used to have a great understanding. Obviously, I used to like to overlap when I was young, and to get it to him, he used to drive on the inside, give it to me, cross it in, or, a lot of the times I'd be that, Marv, you'd be that decoy. You'd be the decoy run, and you think, right, after 4 or 5 decoy runs, surely he's going to start giving it to me. And there was this one game at Cardiff where I'm overlapping him, and I'm in every time, but he's gone in, he's had a couple of shots, and coming at half time, and Mick's shouting at me. He's going, any chance you getting the ball out there? And I was like, I've overlapped him like 12 times, and he's give it to me once. Have a go at him. So then Mick starts hammering Kites, and in the second half, Kites gave it to me every time. So, he was a great player because we were both the same, similar age, wanted the same thing. We both wanted to play in the Premier League. We're desperate to do that. And that was the theme throughout the whole team, really. And a fantastic player. And actually, when we did get to the Premier League, he had some bad knee injuries, and he only played a handful of games for Wolves, but such was his quality. When he got back fit towards the end of the season, when we actually got relegated, he was on a free, and Tony Pulis at Stoke, obviously, he was a 4-4-2 man. Loved his wingers to get the ball in the box. Kites was that guy, and he went there and had a really good stint there, as well as going to Burnley afterwards.
No, awesome. What's Mick McCarthy like? Obviously, he was probably one of the people who brought a lot of people in, you mentioned.
Mick McCarthy was great. I mean, I had my best time under him. He was what you see is what you get. Nothing was complicated. It was a 4-4-2. I'm fullback. I'm taking care of my winger. And if you didn't play well, you just didn't play. And that went for training as well. So the training sessions were ridiculous intensity, because if you take your foot off the gas in training, he'd maybe give you one day. If you do it again on the second day, he'd pull you in, be like, what you doing? I'm looking at picking the team. I don't care if you've played well in the last game, if you're not doing it in training. And we were on our toes all the time. And he was a great manager to work with. And he improved me as a defender as well. Obviously, him being a defender himself. I think originally I probably got the move on my probably attacking play, breaking forward for Luton. But I remember when I eventually signed for him, and he said, you know what made me sign you? He said, it wasn't going and watch all these games that you played. He said, we played you twice last season, and you kept our wingers, all our wingers, you kept them quiet every game. And I was really impressed by that. So he probably signed me off the back of having 2 good games for Luton in the year we got relegated against Wolves. And I saw that later on in my career as well, where if we played a team and there was a winger that played well, or a striker or a centre back, whatever it was, Mick would like that, and he would probably judge them, from the sideline, rather than watching videotapes and getting scouted. He'd go off his own feeling. And I saw him sign so many players, not necessarily on permanent deals, but maybe on loans. We'd play against the wing and he's done well. He'd sign him, and he was great. And I loved working for Mick. I still speak to a lot of my old teammates, and I don't know there's many players. Even if Mick was leaving you out, he would tell you why, and he'd be so honest with you. And I think that's all you want as a player, isn't it, Marv?
Of course, honesty. Yeah, that's the biggest thing, I think, which most players want, even though at the time, sometimes, I mean, depending on what the situation is or what game it is, you might not like the news you're hearing, but down the line, when you probably reflect, it's the best thing, rather than leaving it to the last minute. And you hear some players being told, like, the day of a game or 5 minutes before kickoff while you're leaving them out. And I don't think it's the right way to do things, personally.
No. And it was very much old school, and that's the way I liked it. And Mike Newell was the same, like very much honest with you. Mike Newell again was 4-4-2. And there was no magical tactics with either of them. You know, Mike Newell had a great dressing room with the like Nico, players like that, where we could sort of run it ourselves, or, you know, and Mick was the same. He had some great characters in there, and he would just let you know if you weren't doing the right things. He'd just give you that look or just give you that signal, and you knew you have to step it up.
Was Mick McCarthy the same as Newley, and the respect that, because Newley didn't like being on the field and it's Delaney to do all the training? Did Mick take the training, or did he have an assistant?
Yeah, Mick took the training. He had another guy, Terry Connor, excellent assistant. So they used to like divvy up the day. So maybe TC would do a Monday and Mick would just assist him on the side. And then the next day, Mick would do it. But it was funny, I mean, because nowadays, obviously on a Monday, you've got your worn down days and all this sports science and all this, you don't do anything. I tell you what, Marv, like if we won on this weekend, we come in the Monday, it was all great. You'd still have a training session, but it'd be possession, and it'd be, the emphasis would be on keeping the ball. You know, let's keep the ball, let's play a little. If you lost on the Saturday, you come in, the emphasis was on closing down. And it was like, if we had GPS back them days, it'd be like ridiculous, off the charts, because, you know, the whole weekend would judge how the training was going to go. You just think, please win, because Monday's going to be unbelievably hard.
Sounds awesome. So left midfield.
Left midfield. Yeah.
You probably have to think about who you wouldn't like to play against as well. Is this part of kind of your thinking?
Yeah, pretty much. It's a good shout. I mean, left midfield, I mentioned him already. He doesn't get in the team, but Matt Jarvis, real speed demon. He actually was right-footed. But he'd done this thing where he could drag inside and whip it in with his right foot, or he could take you down the line and put it in with his left. A bit like an Ashley Young. You remember when he was playing on the left wing? Unbelievable delivery. He would drop the shoulder. Sometimes when you play against wingers, you sort of think, right, I'm going to show him down the line here because he's not great on his left foot, or I'm going to show him inside. With Java, it was like, he's going to do me for pace, either down the line or inside. So you had to get your spacing right. If you got too close to him, he'd knock it by you. If you were too far off him, he'd shift it and cross it in. So he was a great player. He doesn't make the team, but he made me better as a defender as well, because I'd be up against Java all the time in training. And it was like, we had some great battles. Another guy as well, really good. I forgot to mention right midfield, Berkovich at Luton. I didn't mention him when I was talking about Kiley. Unbelievable. Great finisher. Never struck the ball with his laces, Marv. Andrew. Never. I don't know. I think he had dodgy ankles, but he used to whip everything in the top bin or the bottom bin. It was unbelievable. And he was quite lazy, because I used to play behind him, and I remember Nico, the boys, you'd be like, Berkey, get back. And he'd be like, yeah. And then he'd just let me sort it out. And then I'd give it to Berkey, and then he'd just bang goals in. Ridiculous, overhead kicks the lot.
Yeah.
Funny guy, Berkey. But yeah, sorry, getting back to my left midfielder, this guy, he played for Chelsea. He played for Newcastle United.
Mm-hmm. Blackburn as well.
Yeah, started at Blackburn. He got a runners-up medal in the Europa League with Fulham. Got 100 caps for Ireland, Marv.
Yeah.
Jinky player.
Quick.
Yeah. Very quick. Ridiculous.
He was one of Abramovich's first big buys, wasn't he? I think way back when.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. I mean, that seems so long ago now, doesn't it? Seems so long ago. But
Damian Duff.
I mean, he was one of, when I speak about joining up with the Ireland squad, he was one of them players that I look at and be like, oh my God, Damian Duff. And it's like, wow. The quietest guy ever.
Really?
Yeah, real quiet. Slept a lot. Like we go away for 2 weeks, and like he'd come down like for dinner, and he's literally just woke up. I think he's just sleep and sleep and sleep.
Seriously.
Honestly, I don't know how. Like, I think he used to have his own room and just sleep, but real professional, real good attitude. Fantastic person to, I was lucky enough to play with him, play behind him on a few occasions, and it was like give the ball to him and let him do his magic and just back him up. Fantastic player, and to have 100 caps for anyone internationally, you must be doing something right, and he was that guy, really good.
Oh, excellent. And central midfield. Let's go across to the middle.
Central midfield. It was a real tough one. I had quite a long list of players here. The first one that sprung to mind, although he's not got in the team, when I first got in the Luton team, it taught me a lot. It was great for me personally, was Kevin Nichols. What a player. I mean, probably one of the best right foots. You talk about players with great left foots. You don't really hear about people talk about players with great right foot. But Nico had a great right foot, like corners, rarely missed a penalty, get the ball out of his feet. He could put it on a sixpence. He must have set up, even though as a central midfielder, he must have set up so many goals for Howie, Big Steve Howard, and the likes of that. And I know he had his knee issues towards the end of my time at Luton and probably towards the end of his time. But I think he's someone that, if he kept himself fully fit, he could have played at a higher level. Would you agree with that, Mark?
Oh, 100%. I mean, we got him from, he come from, was it Wigan? He come from Wigan.
Yeah, Wigan.
But like, and the biggest compliment I can pay Kev is that from day one is like, he played like, for me, like he was like a better player than what we were for him, to say that to me. He should have been at a high level because he used to wrap the ball in, really fizz it in, really firm and sharp. And that's how I like the ball being passed. And even to this day, even though I'm coaching girls, it's the same thing constantly. Just as I said, just punch the ball in. And Nico did that from day one. It was never like a soft pass. It was another level.
And you had to deal with it, because if you didn't, he'd suss you out. And I remember being in the youth team. We walked past the first team pitch once, and there was like a session going on, and it was the highest tempo session you've seen. And Nico was just running the show. He was running around. He was smashing people. He was wrapping balls into people. Players weren't getting hold of it. He was telling them what he thought of them, and that was Nico. And we used to have arguments. Like I was only young, obviously getting in the team, 18 years old, and he used to like hammer me. Steve Howard used to hammer me, but I used to hammer Nico back. Like, not a lot of players would hammer Nico, but I'd be like,
that's true.
I'd get into it a bit with him, and maybe he respected that a little bit. But, obviously off the pitch I was quiet, but when I was on the pitch, I'm in the zone, and if I don't agree with something, I'll tell him. And that was the way. But he was great. I mean, he gave me that introduction to first team football, the likes of him, Chris Coyne, Steve Howard, and I was really appreciative of him for that. So, no, definitely a special mention for Nico in terms of the Luton team. But the player I'm going to go for is probably a similar player to Nico, actually. I played with at Wolves. He played for Wolves. Before that, he was a player at Stoke. Played in the Premier League with Wolves. He went on and played for QPR for 2 or 3 seasons. He played in the Premier League with them. After that, I don't know where he went after that. I think he might have gone to Bradford City, Bolton for a little while as well. Captain of Wolves. I was there. Captain of Wolves.
Captain?
Yeah, he was Wolves captain.
Oh.
English.
Oh, that throws me.
You got it, Andrew?
No, I was going to say Kevin Kilban.
No. Carl Henry.
Carl Henry. Shoot, yes.
Carl Henry. He was a real, talk about a leader on the pitch. I've spoke a little bit about quiet leaders. He was a leader on the pitch, where he made sure he was like a Mick McCarthy on the pitch playing. If you weren't doing your job, no matter how well you got on with each other, he'd let you know. And he was he was great for me. If I was too far off my winger, he'd let me know. If he goes to close someone down and I'm not backing him up, he'd turn around, he'd hammer me. Again, we'd hammer each other, but in a good way. He was your typical, you know, he would be a holding midfield player, but actually he had a lot more to his game. And I know towards the end of his time at Wolves, fans either loved him or hated him. You know, they used to say he was quite negative, played the ball sideways, played the ball backwards, didn't do a lot. But you know them players, Marv, that go around and they're screening passes into the front players. The things that not every fan will see, the hard work, the ground. He used to cover so much ground in a game, and he sometimes would hardly touch the ball, but you know he's just making it hard for the opposition. And he was a fantastic player and really good technician as well. Went on to play for QPR, played with some great players at QPR. You know, under Harry Redknapp when they signed all these players, and probably quite an underrated player, I feel, and someone I still speak to quite a lot.
Oh, awesome. And who's your other central midfielder then to play alongside that? If Carl Henry was he a bit more of a sergeant in the middle? He
was definitely a sergeant.
So you gone for Flair on the other side?
No, I haven't actually. Probably another sergeant.
Typical defender. All these defenders have gone for these two sergeants, whereas all the attackers have gone,
Andrew,
I want to score.
I've got my two midfielders are like sergeants, and my wingers are like Duff, Kiley. They just get forward. Obviously, my fullbacks will get forward as well. But this other player, I mean, I'm probably being a bit cheeky because I didn't play that many games with him. But
you played with him, though. You've played with him. That's all that matters.
I've played with him. I've played with him a handful of times.
Matty Upson claimed that he played for Luton, and that was for 1 minute as a sub.
Is that all he played for? Luton,
1 minute.
Wow.
1 minute.
Wow. But speaking of subs, Marv, you know, something I found out the other day, and I knew we spoke about this recently, was when I made my debut for Luton against Woking in the LDV Vans Trophy 2002. My debut, you came on for me in my debut.
I came on for you?
Came on for me.
How am I not starting before you? You little test tube. I came on for you.
Marv, they wanted the energy, right? They wanted the energy on there, and then they wanted you to shore it up. I think we were winning.
Because you mentioned that, because you said you mentioned that the other day. You said, "Oh, I could have swore that you was in my first game, Marv, and I couldn't remember."
No, it was because actually in your last game, didn't you or Leon?
Leon, yeah.
Leon. Yeah. So the game after against Stevenage was, I think,
Woking. Was it Woking?
Yeah, Woking.
I came on for you.
No. So which game did Leon come on for you, or you come on for Leon? Stevenage.
Leon, I think it was Stevenage. The Stevenage that was.
So the game after that, Woking.
Right. Yeah.
Or before it, I can't remember, Marv. But I just remember. Was that your last ever game for Luton?
Yeah, it was. So I came on for you.
Yeah, against Woking. Yeah, you came on for me. And then
that was my last game. That was my last ever game. Yeah. So I came on for you. They started you before me. Wow.
I think I was probably even cleaning your boots at that time as well, Mark. Andrew, I used to clean his boots. He had these rascal Reeboks. I don't know where he got them. There was only two players that wore these Reeboks. It was Giggsy and Marvin Johnson.
Both ever presents at their clubs, respective clubs.
So I've heard a lot about Christmas presents and things like that come from obviously the pros to make sure that the young uns have got something, so don't get paid that much. Did Marv have long pockets and short arms, or what was he like?
No, I tell you what, Marv had long pockets but longer arms. Because I tell you what, I was going to come to this actually. Marv, unbelievable really, because the standard thing was clean someone's boots. I think I cleaned Boise's as well at the time. By the way, he still owes me money. Boise, I had to chase him to his car. Marv, I had to chase Boise. I said, Boise, yeah, all the lads have got their bonuses and that. I was like, oh, Boise, yeah. He was like, yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, I'll sort it next week. It must be February now.
No, Boise.
The lads are going, you got to follow him out to the car. So I was like, Boise, And then he was like, oh, yeah. He pulled out like 30 quid or something. I was like, here's Boise.
Tie. That's typical Boise.
That is Boise. But on the other hand, Marv got me a great present, Andrew. A great present. And I still got it to this day.
I can't remember what. I don't remember. What was it? I don't know.
I spoke to you about this, right? So, clean Marv's boots. Everyone was getting like money. Marv got me this box, lovely box.
Oh, yes. I do remember this.
Lovely box. And I'm sure it was in a Hugo Boss bag. And it was like this size. And I'm thinking, is that a watch? Surely that's not a watch. Is that a watch? Turns out it was some cufflinks. A watch would have been great, but the cufflinks was fantastic. Like, it got me these Hugo Boss cufflinks, and you had a little note in there, and it said, hopefully these come in handy for you, and you will have played just as many games as I do in your career, or something like that. A real great note. And I thought that was fantastic. Still got them. Still got the note in the box and everything, Marv.
Wow.
And in fact, when I moved to Florida, like just under a year ago, I found them again, and I saw the note. I should have took a picture.
You should have done.
But it was a great thought. It was a great thought from Marv. So something I'll never forget.
Beautiful, and a really a thoughtful gift, rather than just being chucked 30 quid over.
Yeah.
On the car.
What you had to chase after.
Yeah. But that was Boise, wasn't it? That was Boise.
Boise all over. It's Boise all over.
That was Boise. Sorry, Andrew. I'm going to get back to this other midfielder.
Yes, we got central midfielders.
Sorry, central midfielder. So I got Carl Henry sitting in there.
Yep.
Bit of Colonel. This other guy I didn't play with many times. In fact, when I went and played, I had a small stint in Copenhagen for 6 months, FC Copenhagen, and this guy was there. He's played for obviously Copenhagen. So he's won the Europa League with Sevilla. He played for Ajax. He played for Juventus. He played for Liverpool. He played for a team called Evian in France. He played for Schalke. So he's played, I think there's some sort of stat, he's played at all these European countries. One of the only players to play in 6 or 7 different European countries in top leagues, by the way.
Yara Litmanen?
No. I like where your head's at, though.
I think he's a little bit too young for with Yari.
Well, I didn't know if he was just about to retire at Copenhagen.
He was Danish. He's probably about 40 years old now, maybe a little bit older. He was played central midfield, obviously. He had a famous spell at Liverpool. Roy Hodgson signed him, but it didn't really work for him. He got a lot of stick. But played for Liverpool. Don't know if you'll know him.
Oh, yeah, I haven't got him, but once you say his name, it will come back to me.
Hopefully you'll get him. Christian Poulsen, his name is.
Yes.
Christian
Very good player. Very good player.
Honestly, I think Roy Hodgson had him at Copenhagen years and years ago.
Very good player.
Job. Again, all them teams that I've said that he played for, and I went to Copenhagen, and it was sort of probably going to be the last year of his footballing career, and I was only there 6 months, but I could see that he was like probably the most professional footballer in terms of attitude, work ethic I'd ever come across. Just his desire to want to train hard, work hard every day, ridiculous. And you could see he played centre half in a few of the games that I played, and just a fantastic, real fantastic player. Known for his, again, a bit like Carl Henry, would screen the back four. Just a great person as well. But then on a night out, he was a completely different character. Completely different character. So we went pre-season. So I'm thinking, this guy's an ultra professional in the training ground on the pitch. And that went pre-season. Obviously, as you do, let's go down to the bar after training, have a few drinks. Got down there and I'm thinking, I don't know who's going to be drinking here. It's very European. He's the first one there, sitting on his high stool. He's got like a glass of wine, a beer, and a fag. And he's just and he never used to spit. And he's like, Foley, come here. And he's got me a drink. And I was like, is this your twin? Like, who is this? He's like, so I thought it's good. You can be that professional, but then obviously have downtime as well. you know.
Christian Bolt. I remember the name. Definitely, I remember him. I remember the player. Good player.
There was actually another player as well there we've got to give a mention. He plays for Borussia Dortmund now, Thomas Delaney, Danish international.
Very
really
good player.
Marv,
he was there,
really,
was he? Was he there then?
When I got there, he was there. And talk about attitude and like work rate again. He was like a mini.
Is he Swiss?
No, he's Danish.
Was he Danish as well?
Yeah.
Delaney. I know Delaney who you're on about, the midfielder, dark hair.
Yeah, dark hair. Really good player. He signed for
good player.
A German club, and then he went to Borussia Dortmund again for about 15 mil. Good players. There were some good players at the club when I was there at that time.
Great players. So moving on to strikers, the business end.
Yeah, strikers.
The big obviously, where they get the big money.
Yeah, it is. So they say. I mean, I heard Graham Alexander talking about his time as a manager now and saying, "Is it true that's where all the money goes?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's true. It's true. We fullbacks, little fullbacks, especially a right back, probably gets paid the least, you know, because there's not that many left footers, you know. You can spend a little bit of money, but a right back, you know, whatever, let him just do a job there. But yeah, strikers, where the money's at. Yeah, I had obviously played with a lot of very good strikers. When I first got in the Luton team, Steve Howard, you know, he used to give me an earful every game. If I didn't put it on his head, then he'd absolutely hammer me, and I'll be like, I said, I'm thinking sometimes, Howie, you can move around in the box, you know, try and get me into yourself. You know, if it's like 1 foot over him, he's screaming at me, and I'm like, but it put me under pressure that I needed to put it on his head. Gary Mcsheffery came, he had a great stint there. Rowan Vine, workhorse, played really well. But the first striker I'm going to put in, he started his career at Man United in the youth team. Went on and signed for Plymouth Argyle, banged goals in there for Ian Holloway before signing for Wolverhampton Wanderers 6 months after I got there. Unfortunately for him, you know, injury cut short his career. You know, he sort of fizzled out, but he was a real strong player. Sometimes you'd look at him and you'd think he looks a bit overweight, but he was so powerful. You back to goal, he was great. You put it over the top, he was great. Finish, no backlift. He was a big.
I can't think of his name. I can see him. I can see his face.
Double barrel surname.
Yeah.
Double barrel.
Sylvan.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yes, that's it.
Sylvan, I can't even say his name properly. I only know because I lived down in West Country for a while. Evans Blake?
Sylvan Blake. Sylvan Blake.
Yeah.
Yep.
Probably one of my best mates in football. I still speak to him a lot. Absolutely fantastic player. Again, like, so driven. Used to argue all the time on the pitch with him, me and him, you know. Like Howie, you know, if I didn't give the ball right to his feet, he'd give me this look. I'd give him this look. Remember, there was one game at Palace away. You know, I'm thinking he's a lazy so-and-so. He's hammering me for not. We're just bickering at each other this whole game. And their players are going, you two need to calm down. And we're like, nah, I'm not having it. And he's like going, I'm not having it. But he demanded a lot. And I think the season I went to Wolves in that summer, we were probably struggling for goals a little bit. And then we signed 2 players in January. One was Dave Edwards, actually, from Luton.
Oh, yeah.
Who I'd been with for pre-season at Luton. Great player, scored some great goals. And the other was Sylvan. And Sylvan had scored probably about 12 or 13, 14 goals for Plymouth in a struggling Plymouth side. Come to us and just carried on banging goals. Got top goal scorer that season. The next season, you know, the season we won the league, he again scored about 25, 26 goals. What a fantastic player. Great person. Great in the air as well. Just all round. One of the hardest shots I've seen. You know, them players, Marv, that they don't need a lot of backlift. It'll just a snapshot and it's in. Snapshot.
Yeah.
And he had that left and right foot. Did
he go anywhere after Wolves? Anywhere? I mean,
I'll tell you what happened, Marv. it's mad really, because me and him got similar injuries. Like I had to have surgery on my ankle, and then 2 years later he had surgery, and he fizzled out, probably a little bit like me really as well. And I knew exactly what he was going through, and he was literally on the brink. Wolves were in the Championship. He was still banging goals in. Dean Saunders was the manager at the time, and we played Birmingham away. He scored 2 goals, and there was about 10 minutes to go, and he got smashed, unfortunately, broke his ankle. And he was literally, the week before, I think he was going to go and move to Hull, who were in the Premier League, for like £1 million or £2 million, even though his contract was up. And before you know it, 6 months later, he's out of contract, and he's struggling. Yeah. And he struggled ever since then. So it's really unfortunate for him.
It's a shame.
Yeah, great player, very good player, especially in Championship, kind of lower end Premier League Championship level. Fantastic striker.
Again, if you look at like the way money's branded about, maybe not so much now since COVID, but you know, for Championship players, he would have been worth back 10 years ago, 20
million. Yeah, he'd have been a Ollie Watkins.
He would have easily. It's just a sign of the times, isn't it? It's the way football moves on, and you know, it's bound to happen. But yeah, that leaves me with one player left, and this player I've probably got to say is the best player I've played with. Marv. Played with a lot of clubs. You know, I'll name some clubs you might not remember, but Inter Milan, played for Leeds United, Celtic. I know Andrew's got it. Played for Wolves. Started his career at Wolves. Marv, come on.
Oh yeah.
Finished at LA Galaxy.
Yeah.
Is the one and only Robbie Keane.
Robbie Keane.
Talk about players being on a different wavelength. When I first joined up with the Ireland squad, it was him and Damian Duff. It was like in games, you know, you'd have these mini 7-a-side matches. They'd be playing 1 or 2 touch round players. Ridiculous. There'll be overs, there'll be dummies, he'd be jacksing it. Just unbelievable. And again, not lightning fast, but in his head, 2 yards and he was gone. His movement was ridiculous. Best finisher I've seen. Used to do these training sessions, like I said earlier, with Shay Given, zinging it out to him, edge of the box. Everything was a side foot finish. Nothing was laces. Bang in the corner every time. You know, what a guy. Like, unbelievable career. Internationally, played 146 games, scored 68 goals for Ireland. Just fantastic. And a great person to have in a team. Talk about getting lads together, you know, whether it's a night out or, you know, getting you up for a match or anything like that, training. He was a winner. And, you know, just a fantastic player.
He went to Inter Milan young as well, didn't he?
Really he did. Young. He went, I think he went from Wolves to Coventry. Yeah. And then from Coventry, they signed him for what, I don't know if it was 6 million or something back then. I don't think he spent long over there.
No.
Came back to Leeds. Obviously, Spurs, Liverpool, Celtic, LA Galaxy. He played like, I think well over 100 games LA Galaxy. Scored nearly 100 goals.
Excellent player. Yeah, wonderful player. Yeah. Wonderful.
Great finisher.
And it's so much energy. I mean, just like, and it's one of them ones where on the field, and not only that, he had the skill to back it up. You know, he could dribble. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, could dribble. He was conniving as well. Is he the one that scored the goal where the goalie drops it? And he runs around him. I think he runs around him. But he was like that. He was always like looking, what can I do? Who can I knock it out of his hand?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sneak up to this defender. And it was the same in training. Like, unbelievable.
He's one of those annoying players, yeah, you're right, who just, he's not a niggler maliciously, he's just a niggler. He's always there. He's always on his front feet. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he played for Villa at the time. We played for Wolves against Villa in the Prem, and he come and scored 2 unbelievable goals against Wolves. And obviously that was his original club when he moved to England, and he didn't celebrate, but I'm just thinking you know, you so-and-so like just killed us, end up getting us relegated. Obviously a lot more happened after that, but yeah, he was a fantastic player.
Excellent. So that is your best 11 players.
You've mentioned a few managers along the way. So, which manager would you think have the guile to manage this 11 you've just picked?
Oh, I think there's only one manager really for me, and that's Mick McCarthy. Just based on the way he was, he didn't complicate things, didn't, tactics. It wasn't all about it was more, if you're not doing the business, you're not going to play. And everyone was kept honest by that. And if you didn't do it, no matter how big a name you were, Mick signed a lot of players for like big money, and a lot of them just failed or couldn't handle it, because Mick, whether he signed you for 25 grand, like I said about Michael Kiley, or £6 million, if you don't do it, he's not just going to stick with you because you're a £6 million player. He's going to play the guy from the youth team or whatever. So everyone got a fair shot with Mick, and it was a fresh start every season. I don't care what you've done last season. You need to do it at the start of this season, or else you're not playing.
No, that's great. I mean, that's fantastic to hear that, because, like you said, I think everyone. I mean, there's nothing better than that when you know that everyone's on an even keel, regardless of what they've cost.
Yeah.
Where is he these days? I know he left Ipswich a while ago.
Ipswich, and I actually signed for Ipswich for 6 months towards the end of my career. Again, he was the exact same there, and he had a really average Ipswich squad with probably the lowest budget, one of the lowest budgets in the Championship. Consistently finished in the playoffs or just outside every year. As soon as he left, they got relegated, which wasn't a surprise. He just took up a role in Cyprus for a team in Cyprus, quite a big team, I believe. Him and Terry Connor have gone out there, so it'd be a nice job for them. And I'm sure he'll do well. And let's hope it's not. I've heard they've gone through a lot of managers in the past 10 years or so, but let's hope it's something different for him. And I think obviously he ended up at Ireland as well for a couple of seasons not long ago, and I can see him ending up at an international team. And in fact, when I first got to Wolves, there was talk of him going to South Korea, I believe, at the time. But that didn't pan out, thankfully, because he stayed with us and we ended up getting promoted. But Mike Newell as well was another one that I really enjoyed working under. He obviously gave me my first real opportunity. My son's just come in the room. He gave me my first opportunity, and I was really grateful to him for that. Again, didn't complicate things. Yep. Just wanted you to go out and play, and would just always just try and pick the best 11 players, and that was it.
Awesome. So just to finish off, Miles, I think Miles' battery's died. He's jumped off for a second.
I've killed it. Do you know what? It's me waffling on. Absolutely waffling on.
All good. I'll see if he's just ringing now. Hold on a sec.
Get him on the line.
Hello, Marv. How are you?
Everything's fine.
Marv. No, he's not there. No. Hello, I can hear you.
That's a fine, isn't it?
Hello, Marv.
Just about.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Tell him it's a club fine.
No, his internet must be dodgy. I can't hear you, Marv. No, he's gone. No. So I'll finish off the interview. So the last question we always like to ask is, because we've got so many Luton fans who do jump on here, and we always like to ask a question. What would you say is your favourite Luton game you've ever played in or been a part of?
Oh man, what a question! Favourite Luton game? Wow. That is number. I've got so many. But
you got to pick one.
Yeah, the one that stands out has got to be when we played Liverpool at home, and we lost 5-3. They were the reigning European Champions League champions.
Yep.
Marv's calling me now. Look.
Oh, there you go.
Shall I pick it up?
You can pick it up. Yeah. Go for it.
Marv, that's a fine, by the way. That's a fine.
What's a fine?
Your battery ran out.
No, like you two faces froze on the screen.
Oh, never mind. No, it's all right. Andrew was just asking me who my favorite. What was it? Most memorable.
What your most memorable Luton game you ever played in?
Yeah, it was.
So you just all right, that's how we're gonna carry on.
Nah, Marv, listen, you're still in on it. But to answer the question, it was Liverpool. Marv, do you remember when we lost to Liverpool 5-3?
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh man, it was again, it was one of them surreal moments. Like it was my first time probably playing against a Premier League team in the tunnel with Steven Gerrard, Jamie Carragher, Djibril Cissé, Jabi Alonso, and I was just a little bit in awe. And then before you know it, we're 3-1 up. Nico scored a penalty. Steve Robinson's one of the best touches and finishes I've ever seen, by the way. He spun Jamie Carragher into next week. Someone's played it into his feet. One touch round him, bottom bin. I think Steve Howie's ran round the goalie.
And he got taken out and Nico scored the penalty.
Yeah, Nico. I think Viney might have got taken out.
Was it Viney? I thought it was Howie, yeah.
But Steve Howie did take it round the goalie as well and banged it in the net. So we're 3-1 up against European champions. And then I think we just ran out of steam. Before you know it, I think Cinema Pongo, he's out-jumped me in the box, which I was devastated at. He scored a header. And one of my biggest memories from that game is obviously Marlon Beresford's gone up for a corner. It's the last minute of the game. I think it's we're 4-3 down. I think it's even gone over the time.
Yep.
And I've said to the ref, how long? And he's gone, that's it. So I don't know what Marlon's tried this pathetic challenge on the edge of the box. The ball's broke out. He's put in this terrible challenge, right? And then before you know it, Gerrard and Alonso are breaking forward, and it's just me back. And Alonso obviously hit the shot from his own half. And I remember I had no energy, and I remember thinking, can I make it? Can I make it? And in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to make it. Plus, the referee said it's over about 30 seconds ago when we had the corner. And I end up running back, and the ball trickles into the net. And obviously, everyone remembers that Alonso goal from the halfway line. But what a game. That was a magical game for me.
Whose idea was it for Marlon to go up there?
I don't know. Probably his. I mean, he's dreaming of FA Cup glory to bring it back to 4-4. But honestly, if you watch it back, something happens on the edge of the box, and he's so stiff, can't even lift his knee up past his hip to put a challenge in, and that's it. That's it. But there was one other game as well, Andrew, that I wanted to mention when Berko scored. Was it a header or overhead kick? Kenilworth Road. Was it Hull City?
He scored the header at the back post against Hull. Yeah, you're on mute, Marv.
Honestly, the roof sounded like it was going to come off the stadium. It was so loud because them and Tranmere and us were going for the league that season, and absolutely ridiculous. Loved that game. Some great memories. Honestly, some of the best atmosphere at Luton. People, when I tell Luton people, my friends and my teammates about what it was like playing for Luton, Kenilworth Road, 10,000 fans. You know, the fans can touch you on the sideline. I loved it, absolutely loved it, and really, really, really enjoyed them days.
Yeah, it's beautiful as well for a throw-in. You must love it, the fact the fans throw you the ball back nicely, but you watch the opposition fullbacks, they just pelt it at them. It's absolutely hilarious. Absolutely. Even the people in the boxes, even the rich people in the boxes lob it back at them.
Of course they do. It's ridiculous. Although the year we did get relegated from the Championship, it wasn't always nice coming back to me nicely from the Luton fans either. Do you know what I mean? Come on, get out there. I'm trying. But yeah, great.
Excellent. So we've touched on it a little bit. You're in America now. Just to let a few people know what you're at now, how you're doing, and everything football wise. What you've been doing now, Kev?
Yeah, so an old teammate of mine, Neil Collins, I played with at Wolves. He finished his career out here actually for the Tampa Bay Rowdies as a player, and then he transitioned into being their coach about 2.5 years ago. Always kept in touch, and he sort of rang me. Wouldn't say out of the blue, but we'd been talking. He just offered me a job literally about this time last year. Would I want to come out and coach? He knew I'd been doing coaching at Wolves in the academy, that I'd had my A license, coaching qualifications, and obviously spoke to my missus, and we flew out here literally a week later. And then before you know, we found a house, we found a school, signed a contract, and moved out like last January. And it was a bit of a whirlwind, but you know, it was a great opportunity to be involved in a professional side, first team. You know, no disrespect to being in youth team and academies, but first team's where it's at for me. And I just thought, what a place to go and learn and go and develop. And been here ever since. And we've actually just come off the end of a really good season. We won the Eastern Conference. It's the USL. It's one league below the MLS. We won the Eastern Conference. We beat Louisville in the final. And then we were due to play Phoenix Rising, team that Drogba was part of a few years ago. Still is, I believe, in the back room. And we were due to play Phoenix Rising. And then a lot of me included and the head coach and a few of the players got struck down with COVID, literally 4 or 5 days before the final. And it was a nightmare. And then we had to get tested, and then the whole squad got tested, and then ends up 10 or 12 players have got it. And it was just so unfortunate because we'd spent all season testing once a week, every week. We only had one player get COVID right at the start. Then all of a sudden we traveled to Louisville, which was like connecting flights, stayed there for 3 days, come back, connecting flights, started feeling ill. And then, unfortunately they cancelled the final, and they couldn't rearrange it because they just don't know how long people are going to keep catching it from the team, you know, because you need at least 2 weeks, then you've got to train and get fit again. And it just wasn't going to happen. So in the end, we just had to settle for winning the Eastern Conference. But, you know, I really enjoyed it. A great introduction for my first year in coaching.
And what's the plan? Are you here for the foreseeable future, like staying for next season and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've got another year's contract at the moment. Obviously, looking forward to going again. I think the season might be a little bit delayed next year. Normally it starts in March, but I think it might be back to April or May because of the COVID. But looking to come back to England, Luton, for a month or so, middle of December to middle of January. So really looking forward to coming back and catching up with my family, because a lot of them and my missus' family, they was due to come out here, but with the restrictions that didn't happen. Obviously I've got 3 kids as well, and the grandmums and the granddads are missing them. So it'd be great to go back and see them.
Fantastic.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time, Kevin Foley. It was great to hear from you and great to hear some of those stories. Is there any messages you want to pass on to any fans of any clubs you've ever played for?
I suppose the Luton fans, really. Just I know they've been through, you know, a hell of a roller coaster the last 10, 15 years, haven't they? And just it's great to see them back in the Championship and doing so well again, getting the results. Obviously, Nathan Jones left and now he's back again. Who would have saw that coming, eh? You know, the way he left and the way he comes back, and, you know, he comes back as if he's never been away. And it's great to see someone like Mick McCarthy still involved as well. But yeah, just to the fans who again, I remember obviously living up in the Midlands and looking at the local paper, and Luton are going to play Tamworth. No disrespect to Tamworth, but you think, how did that happen in the conference? And it was tough to get out of, but Luton fans stuck by it thick and thin, and just great to see them back in the Championship. Just unfortunate for them not to be able to be in the ground, but hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later.
Excellent.
Definitely.
Thanks, Kev.
Thank you so much for your time. And that was Kevin Foley's My Best 11.